Okay, so next up we've got James and Phil from the South Central Ambulance Service, and they're looking at a fantastic project using natural language processing, and have gone far beyond what we've taught on the programme, so much so I'm going to ask James and Phil to probably teach next year's natural language processing. So over to you guys.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dan. Just try and share my presentation. You see that okay?
Yeah, that's come through fine.
Fantastic. Well, afternoon, everybody. My name is James Wise. I'm a Senior Management Information Analyst with South Central Ambulance Service. And I'm here with my colleague Phil, and we're going to talk to you about our project, which was improving ambulance care through fast feedback of quality care indicators. I'm responsible for management information reporting and analysis for SCAS's commercial side of things, the division. That includes non-emergency patient transport, HR and finance. And what's brought me here is really my enthusiasm for making things better, which has led me to play with Python and to test off-the-shelf machine learning products and run an annual MSc student project amongst the day job. Phil.
Yeah, hi everyone. So my name's Phil King. I work in business intelligence with James. I've principally been involved with the clinical record systems, so really looking at clinical data. I joined the trust 20 years ago. I skipped all the academia part of life, should we say, and sort of came straight in with using databases and SQL and stuff like that. Principally, the reason for getting into HSMA was that I had a desire to learn. I wanted and had seen lots of things being posted online and about data science and where the future was going. Felt like I needed to be a part of that. Previously used quite a lot of SQL to do things, but that was kind of stagnating. It wasn't getting me to where I wanted to be, really. So yeah, I found that to be a useful jump point to join the HSMA. Can you move the slides on, James, please?
Absolutely. Can you
Thanks.
see that one yet?
Not yet. It's on the introduction one.
Oh, it's moved on mine.
Ah.
Let's try resharing. Let's try stopping and sharing and reshare. Sorry, bear with us. Is it back?
Yes, I can see that.
There we
James,
go.
just so you're not on presenting mode, I wonder if that's what the problem is. I don't know if you might run into this again.
Oh, how do you get to that?
I don't know. You're on PowerPoint, so
Sharing my screen. Oh, should we see how we do?
try it out.
Right. Okay. So the question that we had was, how can we support the clinical auditors in our trust? I say auditors a bit tongue-in-cheek. There is only one, which you might come to as a bottleneck later. So how can we make a tool that would analyse the large amount of free text that's being recorded in our clinicians' notes? So our system is an auditor system. There are probably colleagues in other ambulance trusts who may be familiar with that. It allows the patient notes to be captured through a series of button pushes and automatic logging of information as well. And it does provide clinicians and users the ability to record free text as they see fit, really. And that is the interesting part of this, is as they see fit. I don't know if you can go on to the next slide, James.
That works?
No, not for me. Apologies.
No, sorry. I'm not used to Zoom.
Sorry, James, you've just posted in the chat, if you share it in presentation mode, then Alt-Tab and select the active presentation instead of the PowerPoint. That should work.
Okay.
I think it's because you're sharing that particular, the wrong bit.
Oh, okay. Maybe if I just share the window. Can you see that now?
Yeah, that's come through.
I'll tell you, we'll keep it out of presentation mode. We'll just go with that. Is that the slide you wanted, Phil, or is it the next one?
No, that's perfect. The problem. Yeah, here we go. So ambulance clinicians are recording information in the free text. The way that we are pulling out the information is SQL. We don't have any other means to do that currently. And for this particular problem, we wanted to look at the ambulance quality clinical indicators. This particular one we were looking at was the out-of-hospital cardiac arrest, ACQI, depending on how you want to pronounce that. We have in the trust about 500 records every month, which we then pull out. We have a huge data set, which is about 35, 40 columns long. We then hand that over to the clinical auditor, who has to go through each record, almost literally opening up and reviewing it and ticking and not unticking boxes as they find the information that they need. In particular, the care bundle is the ones that is quite a visual one for NHSE to be looking at and comparing other trusts to, and that is made up of 6 indicators, which we've shown below. In this example, what we wanted to do was look and see if we could find 12 lead or oxygen administered within the free text and assist the auditor in trying to find that information rather than have them go through and read the free text. Now, both of those have actually got button pushes behind it. So what we are looking for is whether or not they've pushed the button, written it as free text, done a combination of, or done nothing really, sort of thing. So the clinical auditor is a single point of failure, and it takes 3 days or more to review. If they're on leave or if they're out of office, there's a problem. And there's a limited documentation about how that review is done as well. So we can have the next slide. Yeah, so method, we took 6 months worth of data. It's about 2,500 ACQI records. They're reviewed. We know that they've already been done. So the auditor has looked at them and they can confirm whether or not, according to their process, whether or not a 12 lead or oxygen has been administered. In those 6 months, only 2 of them have a care bundle, which means that we've only got 2 months worth of good quality care bundle data compared to the others. And there's a noticeable difference between reviewed and non-reviewed information. And what we did was we took 8 free text fields and looked through them for the information. Now, those 8 free text fields are not the primary ones. They're the ones that we think that they should be using or are used more complete than others. But there are quite a few free text fields throughout the record that they could be doing. So our results show if any, will show if there's been any improvement or not over human review data. So I'll hand over back to you, James.
Thank you. So I just wanted to quickly come back to the why we did this. And really, SCAS, as so many trusts in the NHS, are sitting on a gold mine of data, really. We've got a very rich data set across all of our different disciplines. We also do 999, 111. And we think as a trust, there's real potential for machine learning and AI to improve our service to patients and also to our colleagues. Particularly natural language data, there's a plethora of potential applications like this one, which is improving clinical audit and staff training, saving call center time staff, filling in simple data, mining staff feedback from surveys for themes and suggestions, scanning our social media profile to see how we're perceived by the public. You know, sky's the limit, really. So we wanted to do this as a sort of building block. I think it's really important to say that we're not trying to replace anyone with a robot here. We want to enable and to augment our colleagues because they do a great job, and we want to make that a bit easier for them. And this is an opportunity for us to do this securely and ethically and in-house, because I think there's always a fear around taking your sensitive data and perhaps uploading it to a cloud somewhere, and people get nervous of where it is and who can see it. And HSMA has really given us a foundation to build on there. So in terms of approach, I won't go into big detail, but when I got the data, I basically took about 4 steps with it. So the first one was to write code to match patterns in the free text. So looking for the 12 lead and the oxygen using a technique called named entity recognition. And then the idea was to take that sentence out from the great big mass of free text, so you could just see the relevant bit and look at the context and work out whether the thing was done or not. So for instance, the patient was given oxygen, or the patient wasn't given oxygen, or they refused it, something like that. Label those sentences and use that to train a neural network to see if it could do an even better job. Now, there's a few challenges with working with clinical text, and I'm not just singling out clinicians here. So free text generally, as I quickly found, there are lots of different ways you can write 12 lead. You can misspell it. You can use letters instead of numbers. You can put hyphens in the middle. And that took a while to deal with. And, you know, talking of punctuation there, commas, really critical. For grandma there, it's a life-saving thing, use of a comma. But in the record on the right there, which isn't one of ours, I should hasten to add, you can see how if it was code, a comma would really help it work out the difference between the inability to eat and something else. And that, when you're trying to pick out a sentence, if there's no punctuation or anything to give you a clue of where it starts or ends, it then makes it really hard to pick up context and negation, which is more common than you think. And I've had conversations around whether we ought to record just the treatments that we've done and not the treatments that we haven't, but we're definitely finding it in our records, and it's harder to pin down than you would think. It's, wasn't trivial to solve, and that made getting an accurate data set to train the neural net pretty hard. But after a lot of challenges and lots of questions to Sammy and Dan, I'm sure they're sick of the sight of me on the chat board, we've got a working way of searching real clinical notes for these phrases and whether they happened or not. And just a couple of headlines from it. It's not the fastest code in the world on a standard laptop, but it will get through over 55,000 records in less than half an hour. And you compare that to the figures that Phil was saying earlier, it's a lot faster. We had over 19,000 records with the 12-lead button pressed in EPR, but we found nearly 7,000 extra where the button hadn't been pressed, but it was occurring in the free text, and that's a 36% increase. So from an audit point of view, there's some big gains to be had here. I will say it isn't working perfectly. It isn't fantastic at negation, but it's a start, and it's something we can build on, primarily by improving that training data, either through maybe synthetic methods that we learned on the course, human cleaning up of the data, tuning. And one that's really exciting is the potential to personalize our own large language model like ChatGPT. Other models are available. But that's something we're hardware limited on at the moment, but we'll come onto that in a couple of slides' time. There's a couple of lines of output there at the bottom where you can see the actual incident numbers on the left, the free text that we looked at in the second and third columns, and then all of the flag fields and the sentences that the code has extracted. And those, I think, will be really useful to the auditors in honing down on the important things to look at. Phil, talk us through the next steps.
Okay, so what we want to do is go back and demonstrate this to the clinical directorate. We need engagement from them. It's been a bit limited, I'll admit, but that's not for any other reason than there's just time constraints around everybody in the trust at the moment. We want to be able to take it a bit further forward and highlight pros and cons of using it, because it's not just, and this is something that I do bang on about a bit, which people might be a bit sick of, is that AI and machine learning and all of this stuff, it's a tool that it helps with a process. It is not going to solve everything. It's not the killer robots and all that sort of stuff that people believe happens in Hollywood and stuff like that. We have the potential that we can upscale it, not just with the ACQI care bundle, but with other ones. We have in total for the ACQIs, probably around 1,500, 2,000 clinical records every month to review, plus internal ones. And because we don't have the ability to do the automated reviews on them and the acceptance of that, that auditor / team are stagnant. They can't do any progress in towards our clinical audit plan that's sort of rewritten every year. We want to scope the possibilities as well about how we can apply it outside of just clinical audit. Is it a case of looking at other areas that maybe looks at CAD records and certain things like that, anywhere where we've got free text, training notes, etc., etc. So there's a lot to do there.
Thank you. We just wanted to finish on the impact of HSMA on SCAS as a trust and on us personally. At a trust level, it's already been influential. For instance, I've managed to persuade them to invest in an AI-specific server, around these projects, around the building of large language models. There's a little diagram on the right there from my technical architecture paper, just showing how our data feeds the various projects. They go through the server to produce models, and then it feeds back into our day-to-day working. So it's just a little diagrammatic thing there. We've had trickle-down effect into our colleagues. They've learned about what we've done. They've gone and started watching the YouTube videos. They're in the queue for next year's course, and the links, I think, potentially we can benefit from them. The Northwest Ambulance Service project that you saw earlier, we're really keen on hearing more about that, and hopefully we can share this with other services as and when. for me personally, I think that community's been one of the strongest parts and the best bits of the course, really. It's been great in the project. I got a chance to join Google NHS Hackathon last year with current and previous HSMAs, which was a great opportunity. The skills have been really useful in so many projects, and more than anything, I've just had a lot of fun. So thank you very much to Dan, to Sam and Sammy and Dan. Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, just to wrap it up, I joined this without any experience of coding, apart from one script that James had written for me once, and I executed that once a month. That was my limit of things. I've taken away from HSMA so much stuff. It's a hill I would die on and recommending it to anybody else. It's just been brilliant. So yeah, thank you very much to Dan and Sammy and to all the other people on the cohort. It's been brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, both. What a fantastic project, and so fantastic to hear about the engagement from the trust and the kind of automation that you've brought in that will have a real tangible impact, I think, on the way your trust operates. So absolutely fantastic to see. Thank you very much, both.